Hello guys, in this video we will have a brief discussion on the topic hypothesis. Okay, suddenly somebody is asking me, what are you asking, man? What do you mean by right? So is Modigliani-Miller, right? The name of two people who changed, right, the way in which corporate finance, right, was dealing with the topic of capital structure, right? So there are three questions. Question number one is this: what does the hypothesis deal with? Question number two is on what are the initial assumptions by and the last one is dealing with what are the revised, right, propositions. The first one, what does the hypothesis deal with? Hypothesis basically deal with the right hand side of the balance sheet, right? So that means in the left hand side we have assets, whereas in the right hand side we have liabilities and owner's equity. So hypothesis is dealing with this side. It's not talking about the left hand side, right? So that means the decision you have to take in the right hand side of the balance sheet is how much of debt and equity, right? So that means out of every 100 rupee that comes into your liability and owner's equity side, now you have to determine the mix between your liabilities and owner's equity. To put it very precisely, between your debt and owner's equity, right? So that's what hypothesis is dealing with, which is known as capital structure, which is otherwise known as financing mix, right? So that means were the one who started with saying debt was irrelevant. Then they started arguing no, debt is relevant later on, right? So that is what hypothesis is dealing with. So it is by two people, namely Franco Modigliani and Merton Miller. So their initial assumption, right, was revolving around the theorem which was considered to be irrelevance of debt, right? So what were they saying? They were saying a firm can create value by changing the asset mix, right, and by doing its operations efficiently, not by changing the financing mix, right? So they can change the value of the firm by changing the asset mix and by efficient operations. That means your income statement and cash flow statement, right? So you can create more value by managing your income statement, right, as well as your cash flow statement and your left hand side of the balance sheet, not the right hand side of the balance sheet, right? So that means the right hand side of the balance sheet is irrelevant according to them. So debt equity proportion is irrelevant. So what were the initial assumptions? There were no taxes, there were no bankruptcy cost, there were no transaction cost, there were no kind of information shortage or information deficit. That means information is freely available, right? So put together, if you are going to club all these assumptions, that is giving, right, the name that is perfect market. So that means when the market is perfect, where people are ideally behaving, where everybody is passing on information to every other person, where there is no transaction cost for buying and selling securities, right, or for any financial transaction, where there is no bankruptcy cost, everybody is honest, okay, everybody is ethical. So that means people don't default on their, right, repayment of loans as well as interest. When there is no tax, so that means government is, right, so good that it does not collect tax from the corporate. What is going to happen is MM's initial, right, hypothesis is going to hold true. That means debt is irrelevant when you are talking about perfect market, right? So what were their propositions, initial propositions, right? So when there is perfect market, proposition 1 is this: VL is equal to VU. V means value, L means levered firm, value of levered firm. Levered firm means what? The firm with borrowing. That means in its right hand side of the balance sheet, it has equity and debt. That means you are talking about levered firm, which is equal to value of unlevered firm. That means what? The firm without borrowing. That means the firm which is having only equity, right? So that means what? Capital structure is not changing the value of the firm. So this is what proposition 1, initial one. The second proposition is interesting, right? Wherein RE is equal to RA plus D by E times the difference between RA and RD. right? Wherein RE refers to cost of levered equity. That means cost of equity when you are having borrowing. Okay. RA refers to cost of equity without, right, borrowing. That means cost of equity, right, only when you are having equity. You are having only equity. You don't have borrowing, right? That's what RA. RD refers to cost of debt. D by E refers to debt equity ratio, right? Look at this formula once again. Okay. Cost of equity for a firm with borrowing is going to be cost of equity without borrowing, that is a base, plus debt equity times the difference between cost of equity without borrowing and your cost of, right, debt. Okay. This is what going to be your cost of equity when you are going to borrow. That means initially you are not having any borrowing. Suddenly you have decided to borrow. Now you are wondering what will be your revised cost of equity. So what you are going to do? You are going to start with the case when you are not having borrowing. That is your base case. Cost of equity without borrowing. Plus revised debt equity ratio because you are going to borrow. What is the proposed debt you are going to have? What is the proposed equity you are going to have after this decision? Right, which you may call it as recapitalization. This is called recapitalization because you are changing your debt equity mix, okay, to the times of, right, the difference between cost of equity without borrowing and, right, cost of debt. Cost of debt is lower, right? So that means this difference is nothing but a kind of premium, right, you are getting because you are borrowing. So that means this is your risk premium, right? So that means if you are going to multiply by DE, your cost of equity is going to increase, right? So that means what is the inference here? The inferences are basically two, right? Cost of equity of levered firm increases in proportion to D by E, right? As well as the difference between unlevered cost of equity and cost of debt. Please look at the formula once again. Okay, look at this. When you are increasing your debt equity ratio, right, from 0.5 to 0.6, keeping all other numbers same, will your cost of equity revised or cost of levered equity increase? Yes, it will definitely increase. If you decrease your D by E, your levered equity will also decrease, right? Yeah, correct. Levered cost of equity will also decrease, right? Yeah. Similarly, the difference between cost of unlevered equity and your cost of debt, if it increases, then your cost of levered equity will increase. If the difference is going to decrease, what is going to happen, guys? Your cost of levered equity is going to decrease, right? This is what I have written. Please come down. Yeah. Right. The second inference is very important one. WACC remains at the same level irrespective of, right, change in your D by E, right? So what does it mean? Please go back to the equation again. Okay. So this means your cost of equity is going to increase when you are increasing your D by E. But your cost of debt is going to come down when you are increasing your D by E. Thereby, what is going to happen is your WACC is going to remain at the same level. Please understand this. This is what your initial MM proposition 2. Okay. So initial MM proposition 1 is talking about the equality in value when you borrow and when you don't borrow. That means debt is irrelevant. Equation 2 or proposition 2, initial proposition 2 talks about equality in WACC. It's not talking about equality in cost of equity. So that means whenever you borrow, what is going to change is your cost of equity is going to change. It is going to increase rather. Okay. What is going to decrease is your cost of debt. Thereby what is going to happen, guys? Your WACC is going to remain at the same level, right? Yeah. I take you to the last question here, right? That is, what are the revised MM hypothesis or MM propositions, right? Right? What is the, in fact, I can say revised MM hypothesis also, because later on they themselves have said debt is very much relevant. Okay, that means debt affects the value of the firm. Okay, right? So what are the revised assumptions? All the initial assumptions are relaxed. So now, right, the assumptions are like this. There are taxes, government is charging you taxes. There are transaction costs. When you buy and sell securities, you have to pay, right, brokerage, you have to pay, or you have to incur flotation cost. There are bankruptcy and agency costs. So that means people default. People are not ethical, people are not honest. That's very much true. And the last one, information is inefficient. That means not all of us are having the equal amount of information, right? So in this revised scenario of assumptions, proposition 1 is slightly getting changed. VL, that means value of levered firm, is equal to value of unlevered firm. This was initial proposition got stopped, right? Now we are going to add one more leg. Okay, what is that? It is going to be the multiplication of tax rate and, right, what is your debt amount, right? Tax rate, that is in percentage, debt amount, that is absolute amount. What you are going to have, this is the benefit of borrowing. Okay, so this is what revised proposition 1 all about. Okay, so basically if you look at here, these two are nothing but your present value of, right, tax benefit. Okay, benefit otherwise known as shield, tax shield, okay, of debt. The borrowing you are going to have is going to give you the tax benefit. That's what your tax shield, right? Yeah, this is what revised proposition 1. So the second proposition in terms of its revised form is going like this: RE, that is cost of levered equity, is equal to RA, that is cost of unlevered equity, plus D by E, debt equity, times difference between RA and RD. RA is cost of unlevered equity, RD is cost of debt. Okay, if you remember initial proposition 2, that was exactly like this. Almost all these terms are there in the initial proposition 2. Only one more addition we are having, that is 1 minus t. Okay, so that is the only thing we are having, because here we are talking about assumption of taxes, wherein there we did not talk about, right, existence of tax, right? Yeah, so that means we can make these inferences. Inference 1, cost of levered equity increases for increase in debt equity. Okay, cost of levered equity increases for a decrease in tax rate. Cost of levered equity increases for increase in differences between cost of unlevered equity and cost of debt. Let's look at the equation, revised proposition 2. Okay, so when D by E increases, cost of levered equity increases. When tax rate increases, cost of levered equity decreases. When tax rate decreases, cost of levered equity increases, right? And the difference between RA and RD, cost of unlevered equity and your cost of debt, when the difference increases, cost of levered equity increases. When the difference decreases, cost of levered equity decreases, right? So these are all the inferences, right? Yeah, the last one, that is the most important inference about proposition 2 revised version, is this, right, wherein we assume that WACC is not going to, WACC is changing, right? Whereas in the previous case we assumed that WACC, right, did not change, okay, irrespective of your change in capital structure. Here when you are going to change your capital structure, your WACC is going to get affected. So this is the most important, right, contradiction between the initial proposition 2 and the revised proposition 2, right? Yeah, that's it guys. So I will take some illustration in the next video. We'll have a discussion on that. So right now I just introduced to you guys hypothesis, right? So there are 3 questions. What does the hypothesis deal with? Second one, what are the initial propositions by and the last one is, what are the revised propositions? See you guys in the next video. Please take care.